Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will discuss some important questions and answers from the chapter We Are Not Afraid to Die. So dear students, I have given the heading We Are Not Afraid to Die. Then in the next line I have written important questions and answers discussion. So let me discuss some of the important short questions and answers. It will help you to gain more ideas, or it will help you to sharpen up your concept regarding this chapter. I feel like that. So let me come to the very first question. See, the question is written, what did the narrator plan to do? What preparations did he make for it? What was the narrator's plan? What preparations he made? The narrator planned to go on a round the world sea voyage on the same pattern as Captain James Cook, because he was the great grandson of Captain James Cook, so he wanted to replicate or duplicate the world around the world voyage that was been undertaken previously almost 2 centuries ago by Captain James Cook. For the past 16 years, he and his wife had spent all their leisure time developing and improving their skills with work related to travel on the sea. For the past 16 years, the narrator, that is Gordon Cook, and his wife Mary, they underwent a lot of rigorous training sessions and they planned a lot. It was not a plan on a given day. They had a long term plan, almost for 1.5 decade. For almost 16 years they planned, and they developed and improved their skills. They underwent many rigorous training sessions also, and mainly their work process was related to travel on the sea. Now I am moving on to my next question. This is very important. Description of the wave walker. Very important CBSE related question this is. Question is, give a brief description of the narrator's boat, obviously wave walker. How had the narrator equipped and tested it? Now very important question, how will you proceed in an answer like this? You can write like this way. The narrator's boat was called Wave Walker. It was a beautiful 23-meter long, 30-ton wooden hulled ship. Wooden hulled beauty is written in your text. Actually that means wooden hull ship. It had been professionally built. They had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather they could find. Now all of a sudden they haven't embarked on their exploration or sea voyage. To be very precise and honest, they actually tested whether the wave walker was actually suitable to tackle the roughest weather they could find. And after testing it, and after finding it to be very much satisfied, they decided to embark on their sea voyage. Before they embarked on their sea voyage, they even tested the wave walker, whether the wave walker was capable to face the roughest weather in the seas. And after they were satisfied, then they decided to embark. And one more important thing, just like I told you previously, that they themselves had taken rigorous training session how to tackle the roughest weather in the seas, and they spent almost 16 years in this. So it was a long drawn out plan, and finally when they found everything was ready and they were satisfied, they decided to embark on their journey. Now dear students, I am moving on to my third question. Question is, whom did the narrator employ and why? When did he do so? The narrator employed 2 crewmen, and in the story they played a very important part also. They showed enough courage and determination, just like the narrator and his family. One was an American by the name of Larry Vigil, and another was a Swiss man by the name of Herb Ziegler. Now they were employed, or they were recruited. Actually employed means recruited also, dear students. Now they were employed, or you can say they were recruited, in order to help them means the narrator and his family, tackle the roughest southern Indian Ocean, which is known as one of the roughest seas in the world. He engaged them before leaving Cape Town. It is written in your text also that he engaged them in order to tackle the roughest seas of the world, that is the Southern Indian Ocean, and he engaged them before leaving for Cape Town. Now I am moving on to the next one, question number 4. See the question, dear students. What happened on their second day out of Cape Town? What worried the narrator and why? What was the thing that actually worried the narrator? Obviously the weather. Slowly and slowly it deteriorated. That is the main concept, remember. If you know the concept, you can write the answer on your own, dear students. So let me explain the answer now. On their second day out of Cape Town, they began to face strong gales. Actually, gales means storms, sea storms. Another way to define it is tempest. These storms blew continuously for the next few weeks. He was worried about the waves. Their size was alarming. This rose up to 15 meters, that is as high as their mainmast. So the rows were very much alarming, and the sizes of the waves, gigantic sea waves, it was almost 15 meters, as high as their mainmast. So that was a thing that was that made the narrator very much concerned. Though he was very courageous, he was a very courageous man, but the height of the sea waves made him very much concerned about their safety. Now I am moving on to question number 5, dear students. What sort of wave hit the ship? How did the narrator react? It was a mighty and huge wave. It appeared perfectly vertical. It was almost twice the height of the other waves. It had a very unpleasant breaking crest. The narrator had never seen such an enormous wave, so he was filled with horror. Despite he was very courageous, but he haven't seen such an enormous gigantic wave. That was the reason he got a bit scared also. Now the next question is a very important one. See, actually there is a quotation, then the main question will start. The quotation is also very important. I had no time to worry about bumped heads, says the narrator. What problems do you think deserved his immediate attention? Obviously the repairing of the boat. And bumped heads, it is related with Suzanne. So practically speaking, the narrator was very much concerned about the safety of every passenger. So he decided to repair the boat at the very first instance. He decided to repair the boat because that was the main thing to be done by him. So let me come to the answer of this. See, it is written, the starboard side had been struck open. They were taking in more water with every wave breaking over them. More water was gushing in or entering inside the boat because the starboard side, that particular starboard side, the boundary of the starboard side, it was already destroyed or semi-destroyed, you can say. Now see the next line. If he did not make repairs urgently, they would sink. So repairing of the boat has to be done urgently, otherwise they would all sink. And wave walker is near capsizing. That is the main thing. The narrator managed to cover the gaping holes with canvas and waterproof hatch covers. Now with the help of waterproof hatch covers and with canvas, the narrator tried, along with the 2 crewmen, they also helped him a lot in this. They all of them, particularly the narrator, decided to cover the gaping holes with canvas and waterproof hatch covers. And if you have read the text, you will get to know that Laddie and Herb Sigler, they were pumping the excess water manually like madmen. They were desperately draining out the excess water. It was a crisis period, dear students, and it is a real story how they overcome this crisis period. That is the main concept of the story, and ultimately it gives us a message: trust, confidence, determination and courage. These are the words associated with this story. Now let me move on to the next one, question number 7. Look at the question, dear students. How did the narrator react to the problems? What does it reveal? The narrator did not lose his calm or courage in the face of problems. He thought calmly. Then he remembered that they had another electric pump under the chart room floor, because the main electric pump, it stopped working. So he remembered that inside the navigation room, inside the chart room floor, there is another electric pump. So they used it. He found it in working order. So that was the lucky thing. He found that this electric pump that was kept under the chart room floor, it was in working order. So they were not getting any reply to their distress radio signals. He was not surprised, as they were in a remote corner of the world. So the excess water thankfully was drained out, and with the help of this another electric pump, they were not getting any sort of reply to their mayday calls, because the author realized that they were all stranded, almost isolated, or rather to say almost marooned in one of the remotest corner of the world. So that was the answer to that, dear students. But remember one thing, the author never lose his calm or courage. He was very brave despite he received many injuries along with his family members, but he never lose his courage. He was the captain of the ship. He was actually the main person of the ship. And finally, as you know, as I discussed previously, that they were all saved because they found Ile Amsterdam, the French scientific base, 185 degrees. They traveled a bit and they finally discovered that island. So as you know about it, but at a very dire circumstances, they failed to communicate with the world, because, and the narrator was not at all surprised also, because he realized that they were been stranded in one of the remote corner of the world, and to ask help or to get help is very much difficult for them. So they decided to help themselves as much as they could, and they were successful at the very end. Now I am moving on to the next question. Why do you think the narrator searched for an island so eagerly? Why he searched for an island? What was the reason? The wave that hit the wave walker had caused extensive damage. Nearly all the boat's main frames had been smashed down to the nil. A whole section of the starboard hull was being held up by a few cardboard partitions, and it was not possible for wave walker to hold up for so long to reach Australia. So he searched for an island to repair the boat, and Ile Amsterdam was the right choice, because finally they reached there only. My final question, dear students, why do you think that the narrator called Ile Amsterdam the most beautiful island in the world? What is the reason for calling it? Ile Amsterdam was a very small island. I told you it is a French scientific base. It had little vegetation and only 28 inhabitants were here. However, the island provided them safety from the huge waves of the sea, as well as opportunity to repair the damaged ship. So since they were alive, the island, though it was a very small island made of volcanic rock with a little vegetation, 28 inhabitants were there in that island, but despite all this island provided them safety. And not only that, it gave an opportunity also to repair the wave walker. So considering every important perspective, the author termed Ile Amsterdam as the most beautiful island in the world. This is a very important thing, because previously they decided to move to Australia, but the situation of wave walker was not good. This particular thing is there in question number 8, the previous question. So they cancelled their plan for reaching Australia, and they decided to search for one of the small island, if they can get, where they will be safe and where they can repair their boat. And finally they found Ile Amsterdam, and finally they were saved. So that is the reason, despite it was a very small island with a little vegetation and only 28 people, but these people were also very helpful. So considering the overall perspective, the author remarked that Ile Amsterdam is the most beautiful island of the world. So dear students, please read this particular 9 questions and listen to my audio lecture. If there is any problem, do let me know. Thank you students. Thank you all.